Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is March the 7th, 2021, and I thought it might be a good idea for us to look at the Gospel of Luke in order to take a look at last day events. So we are in Luke chapter 23, and let's take a look. We're just going to read through it. It's not going to be an advanced study or anything like that. But what I did do is I went ahead and I highlighted those things that were different than Matthew as a comparison so that we could see which parts applied to us and what was part of the story, part of the main story. So almost all of this chapter is unique. It's unique to this chapter. Just look at the highlighted parts. And all of this, where I just highlighted the first part of the line, the entire line is different. So look at it. It's just like a completely different story. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Luke 23, verse 1. Oh, hold on a moment. I'm sorry. When I compared it, here, I'll show you. When I compared it to Matthew 27 verse 1 actually put us back a couple of scriptures, a couple of verses into Luke 22. And we may go back and forth to this to take a look. But we'll go ahead and start off in the scriptures together and see how we make it through in case we want to look up a word. Okay. And as soon as it was day, the elders of the people and the chief priests and the scribes came together and led him into their council, saying, Thou art Christ, tell us. And he said unto them, If I tell you, you will not believe, and if I also ask you, you will not answer me, nor let me go. Hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the power of God. Okay, so this is going to take us back to Daniel 3. In Daniel 3, it wasn't really clear in Daniel 3, but I'm pretty sure we talked about it, how our accusers are the priests and the fellow Christians that are around us. So here you have the elders of the people, the chief priests and the scribes. They come together and then they lead him to their council within the church still, and they're questioning him. And the answer that they get is, hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the power of the God. That's not what is said in the other books. I didn't highlight this one correctly. This is because this is the 144,000 come out of Luke. Then said they all, Art thou then the Son of God? And he said unto them, Ye say that I am. And they said, What need we any further witness? For we ourselves have heard of his own mouth. Okay, so I don't know why he would have to be put to death for being called the Son of God, but I think that has more to do with us than it does to do with Jesus. But we'll continue on. And so apparently we're going to be saying something as the 144,000. We're going to be saying something that's offensive. Maybe that by keeping the Sunday Sabbath, we are the children of God and they are not. But if you recall, in Daniel 3, King Nebuchadnezzar had set himself up as God. And this is the same thing. This is the same question that perplexed me when we were looking at Ezekiel. It kept referencing the king, which is a government. Which is the government. I'm still not sure that I understand that. How that's going to happen. Let's keep going. And the whole multitude of them arose and led and led him unto Pilate. And this is different. What did I mark that? Let's see. Okay, so in Matthew, they bind him and then they lead him away and they delivered him to Pontius Pilate. So here the whole multitude arose and led him unto Pilate. But here it says Pilate the governor. So he's called the governor. Let's go on. And they began to accuse him, saying, We found this fellow perverting the nations and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ a king. Again, perverting the nation, the government. They're putting charges against us the same as it is in Daniel 3. The charges aren't against there's some law that we are going to be breaking that offends the nation, or so they say. There's going to be some kind of law that's put into place. I don't understand how the Sunday law is going to be offensive to the nation. But this is what it seems to say. This is what it's saying. It's not seeming to say that. There's going to be some kind of law put into place. It has to be the Sunday law. It can't really be anything else. It has to be one of the laws against God. There has to be a national law made that does not offend the other Christians, but is forbidden according to the laws of God. And the people are not going to be running around trying to throw you into jail because you're not a thief or a murderer. The only one, it has to be one on the left side of the 10 commandments. So the only one that's logical is the Sunday law. It's just the only one that's logical. So that's what we're going with. That's what I'm going to go with because of the process of deduction. I'm going to have to say it's the Sunday law. Even though I don't fully understand it, it's just the most logical explanation. So, and they begin to accuse him, saying, We found this fellow perverting the nation and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar. Somehow it's going to be a tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ a king. And Pilate asked him, saying, Art thou the king of the Jews? And he answered him, saying, Thou sayest it. And then said Pilate, so this is the government, and he's asking them, are they the 144,000? Are they the chosen people of God? And he said, that's what you're saying. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I find no fault in this man. And they were the more fierce, saying, He stirreth up the people, teaching throughout all Jewry, beginning from Galilee to this place. Okay, it works better when we compare it. Let's see. Okay, so Pilate tried to let us go, saying he finds no fault in this man. And of course, he's not going to find fault because they've already been sealed. They're the 144,000. So he confirms it. I find no fault in this man. But that just made them more angry. That just made the church more angry. And they were more fierce, saying, He stirreth up the people, teaching throughout all Jewry, beginning from Galilee to this place. Teaching throughout the church, and they're trying to get him, man. Oh, let's see what he says over here. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. But Pilate is questioning him over here. That's why I highlighted it. Then said Pilate unto him, Hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Oh, this is the 11th hour church. So there. The government is going to like the 11th hour church, it seems. Okay, so all of this is exclusive to Luke. When Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked whether the man were a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged into Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod. This is him saying, I don't know, but if it's a city, then it's a county problem. If it's a state, then it's a federal problem. It's a federal, take him to the state and let him deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. It's not going to work. Who himself also was at Jerusalem at the time. And when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceeding glad, for he was desirous to see him of a long season, because he had heard many things of him, and he hoped to have seen some miracle done by him. So here everybody knows who they are. When he questioned, that's not that's not necessarily a good thing. When everybody knows who you are, you're a Christian. Then, but it shows that they witnessed. Then he questioned him with many words, but he answered him nothing. And the chief priests and scribes stood and vehemently accused him. And Herod, with his men of war, set him at naught, and mocked him, and arrayed him in a gorgeous robe, and sent him again to Pilate. A gorgeous robe, and sent him again to Pilate. And the same day Pilate and Herod were made friends together, for before they were at enmity between themselves. And that's just the way it works. That's the way it works. So, then we go on. And Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests and the rulers and the people, said unto them, Ye have brought this man unto me as one that perverteth the people. And behold, I have examined him before you, and have found no fault in this man touching those things whereof you accuse him. He's not a threat to any. These people are perfect. They've been perfected. Here, it's more focused on Barabbas, where he's trying to trade Barabbas, trying to set Jesus free by comparing him to a murderer and a shady character and a murderer. But they weren't going for it. They said, release Barabbas and crucify Christ. But anyway, I have found no fault in him, because it's the 144,000. No, nor yet Herod. So even the other government that they stood in front of, they found it was two people that confirmed that there was no accusation against these people. For I sent you to him, and lo, nothing worthy of death is done unto him. I will therefore chastise him and release him. Okay, so this something's going to happen. This is the really bad part right here. The chastising part is bad. For of necessity he must release one unto them at the feast. Okay, so this just kind of jumps out of the blue, but that's okay. We already know what's going on here because it's listed in detail here that he's trying to release him. And they cried out all at once. All at once. I'm not certain what that could be, what that could mean. All at once. With one voice? Oh, they all agreed. And they all agreed saying, with this man, saying, and they cried out all at once saying, away with this man and release unto us Barabbas. So with one voice in agreement, everyone wanted Jesus crucified and Barabbas released. Who for a certain sedition made it in the city and found, who for a certain sedition made in the city and for murder was cast into prison. Pilate, therefore, willing to release Jesus, spake again to them. He's going to plead with them a second time. He doesn't listen to them the first time. But they cried, saying, crucify him, crucify him. And he said unto them the third time. We don't see that in we don't see that in Daniel 3. And he said unto them the third time, Why? What evil hath he done? I have found no cause of death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go. Again with the chastisement. And they were instant with loud voices, requiring that he might be crucified. These people. Okay, so they're more insistent now with loud voices. Of course, the loud voices travel far and wide. So everybody now know what's going on. Requiring that he might be crucified. And they were instant. I can't think of anything other than they were hasty. They gave him they demanded it. I'm not sure. And the voices of them and of the chief priests prevailed. Their demands prevailed over the law. Over the law even. The voice of the church prevailed over the law. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. Should not have had done that. And he released he shouldn't have. And he released unto them him that for sedition and murder was cast into prison. That's Barabbas, whom they had desired, but he delivered Jesus to their will. To their will. What's going on over here? When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it. This is the 11th hour. Then answered all the people and said, His blood be on us and our children. And that's the end, so it will be. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Well, the only thing that we see is that we're going to be chastised. But in Daniel 3, it says the furnace is 7 times hotter. So chastisement really doesn't see. Well, actually, when you compare it to the 11th hour church, which goes through the great time of trouble, then yeah, I guess maybe chastisement is maybe not so light of a word compared to what they go through. Okay, let's continue on. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, a Syrian, coming out of the country. And on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. So this is the 11th hour church, of course. They're going to bear the cross after us. And after that they have mocked him. They took the robe off from him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to be crucified. His own raiment, of course, is spotless. That's the 144,000. Okay, let's continue on. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. Great company of people. The nations, maybe? This is the other nations looking at us, perhaps? But we know that the women are the false churches. And they bewailed and lamented him. So the other nations are watching, is what I'm thinking the people are, but I don't know for certain. We're just we're just watching this play out, basically. We're not trying to put a whole lot of depth into it. Although I did want to look up a couple of words, but it's not working out that way. It's just easier this way. Here, and they came out, and as they came out, they found a man of Syrian, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. They compelled to bear the cross here. Okay. But here they just gave it to him. You're going to do this. You might bear it after Jesus. Oh, that's the same thing we saw in Ezekiel. Anyway, but Jesus turning unto them said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming. All of this is different, by the way. I didn't highlight it. For behold, the days are coming in the which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bare, and the paps which never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things in a green tree, what shall be done in a dry? And there were also two other malefactors led with him to be put to death. And when they were come to the place which he called Calvary, there they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. So Golgotha here is the same as at Calvary. I looked up this word. Actually, let's look it up together. We'll look at the definition. We'll read this here. And when they were come into a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall, and when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. So here it says Calvary. So that's verse 33. Calvary. Okay, here we go. Diminutive of a derivative of the base, a skull, cranium, Calvary, skull. Of course, they've got Calvary in there to define Calvary. We already know that. From a primary word, car, the hair of the head, a horn, literally or figuratively, a horn. So it comes from the base word of horn, but it means skull. Let's go ahead. And when they were come to the place, let me start that over. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. So it says that he was, and there they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. So the one on the right hand, of course we know, is the one who was a Christian. And then the other on the left was not a Christian. So he was crucified with the good and the bad. So there are other people that are dying besides the 144,000. Or there's other people that are going to be put to death during our time. That's the way it seems. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And this is us praying for the people even still. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. Of course, his clothes or his character. Is a representation of his character. Oh, let's read this to do a quick comparison. And they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. And sitting down, they watched him there. Here it says, they stood beholding, and the people stood beholding, and the rulers also with them. And they set up over his head accusations. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Let's continue down here until we get to this part. So here they stood there beholding him, and the rulers stood with them, deriding him, saying, He saved others. Let him save himself, if he be Christ, the chosen of God. Yeah, they're standing in judgment. Either they could be standing their ground. Probably not, though. And the soldier also mocked him, coming to him, and offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou be the King of the Jews, save thyself. And the superscription also was written over him in letters in Greek and Latin and Hebrew. This is the King of the Jews. We already went over this. It's because the other nations have to know what's going on, so that they know that the destruction is caused by God and not their false gods. Then were there two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and the other on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads and saying, Thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself. If thou be the Son of God, come down from the cross. Because we know that finally the temple of God is going to be established after the 11th hour church. And one of the malefactors which was hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God, seeing that thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou come into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. So it must be saving him, because they're not promising salvation, surely. They're helping him to learn about God. Though he already knew it. He was already keeping the commandments. He must have done something. He must have done something else that they threw him up on the tree for. Broke another law. And then he received the truth at the last minute. One moment. Let's read through this really quickly again, because this is what leads up to the end. Okay, so we were crucified with the two other offenders, and we say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. They defiled his character, and the people stood beholding, and the rulers with them, deriding him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself, if he be the Christ, the chosen of God. Of course, they're mocking them and embarrassing them. And we know that the trial of your faith is not what they can do to your body. It is for the mind. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offending him, and offering him vinegar, offering him sin. So they're trying to compromise their characters and saying, If thou be the King of the Jews, save thyself. Same as Satan did to Jesus in the wilderness. Look, you can't save yourself against us. Look, here, all you have to do is keep the Sunday Sabbath. That's all you have to do. No, thank you. We don't want your vinegar. We'll take our cross. And a superscription also was written over him in letters in Greek and Latin and Hebrew. This is the King of the Jews. The world is watching. And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be the Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? So here, again, they're questioning them because they are upholding God's laws. But who has the upper hand here? Or seemingly, they have the upper hand. So if God was really with you, why is God allowing this to happen to you? And of course, this gentleman has the same attitude. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? You're in the same shoes as they are. You're getting ready to die too. And we indeed justly. So he admitted that he had sinned as well. For we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. So he was seeking understanding from the 144,000. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. So they must be just telling them the truth here, because they're not promising paradise. So they are giving him the gospel, and they're telling him what's going to happen in the future. Don't you worry about it. This is what's going to happen. Okay, so let's see what happens after all of that. Hold on. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. We know that's us. I made a mistake here, actually. It says, now from the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land until the 9th hour, and about the 9th hour. So it's after the 9th hour. Jesus cried with a loud voice, Eli, 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 Yama Sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? That's because this is the 11th hour church, and they're going through it. But here, we don't say anything like that. We know what we say. We can translate it. Okay. And there was darkness all over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the middle. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. For sure, that's the 144,000. You don't give up the ghost after you commend your spirit. After the Lord takes your spirit. It just doesn't work that way. You give up the ghost, then your spirit is taken. It just has to be the 144,000. It just can't be anything else. But of course, written, it's for, we're not worried about the interpretation for Jesus. Okay, we're worried about the interpretation for the 9th hour church. And here, the spirit was commanded into the hands of the Father, and then after that, they gave up the ghost. Let's look that up. It seems like I looked that up, but I can't remember what I found here. 46. Oh, I think that it only says ghost. That's right. It says, and when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, ghost. To expire. Give up the ghost. I don't know if I looked these up or not. Breathe hard, that is, breeze, blow. Origin, that point whence motion or action proceeds from, out, after, among, times are, at, betwixt, on, out, among. So having said thus, ghost, or what's the other definition? Expire. Let's go back. Oh, is there anything here? Some of them that stood there when they heard that said, This man calleth for Elijah. And straightway one of them ran, took a sponge, and filled it with vinegar, and put it on the reed, and gave to him to drink. The rest said, Let be. Let us see whether Elijah will come save him. Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. So here he's saying, Why have you forsaken me? And then he cried again and gave up the ghost. Okay, we're almost done here. Man, I think we're going to have to not do... How far along are we here? I think we're going to have to not do the 11th hour church. Well, we only have 3 more. Let's see. Now when the centurion saw what was done, he glorified God, saying, Certainly this was a righteous man. Okay, so they were a witness to others. And all the people that came together to that side, beholding the things which were done, smote their breasts and returned. And all his acquaintances and the women that followed from Galilee stood afar off, beholding these things. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks were rent. See, there was none of that. There was none of that in the... Okay, this is not helping me as I thought it would. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came up out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. And we saw that in Revelation 14. That's not news to us. Now when the centurion and they that were with him, watching Jesus, saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, Truly this was the Son of God. Again, they witnessed to others. Oh, this was interesting. This is not on the subject, but just real quick. Here, and many women were there beholding afar off, which followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering unto him, among which was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James, and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's children. Did you know that Jesus had a little sister? He sure did. I'm going to show it to you real quick because I thought it was interesting. Matthew 56. Mary, the mother of James. I'll just do entire Bible. Mary, the mother of James and Jose, and the mother of Zebedee. Okay. And there was also women looking on. There were also women looking on afar off, among whom was Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James. Here, this is it right here. Salome. This is a woman's name right here. I actually looked it up. It's a female name. And she's in there twice. She's here and she's here. So hold on. Feminine from H7965. Salome, that is Shelomah, an Israelitess. Salome, Jesus' little sister. How about that? She's in there twice. Okay, so let's get through this. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was good. He was a good man and just. The same had not consented to the counsel and the deeds of men. He was of Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God. So he was a Christian. This man went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus, and he took it down. It's not what happened over here. Let's read this. When even was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciple. This, of course, is happening after after the dead have been raised. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth. The linen cloth, of course, is their righteousness. So the body, it has to be Jesus claiming the soul, right? Hold on, let's read it again. Let's read it again. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor. Let's look at the word Joseph, see what that means. 50. Joseph, the name of. Let him add, or simply active participating, adding. Add to. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is Jesus. He was a good man and just. The same had not consented to the counsel and deeds of men. So he was not with the wicked. He was with us. He was of Arimathea. Well, I'm not going to look that up. A city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God, which of course we know he's doing. But over here, this is Jesus' disciple. So this is going to be a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciple. Maybe this is the 144,000. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in clean linen cloth. Unless the rich man is Jesus and Jesus represents God. But over here it's clear he's waiting for the kingdom of God. This man went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus, and he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulcher. And I did look up sepulcher. I'm wasting a lot of time with this. But I know I looked it up because I thought it was curious. The difference. There's a different word that's used in Matthew. And laid it in a sepulcher that was hewn in stone, wherein never a man before was laid. And that's the 144,000, because they are the first fruits of the 144,000. So there can never be more than one first fruits. A memorial, that's what it was, a memorial. And I think a memorial is associated with this word as well, where it says grave, wherever it is. It was just a different word used. So he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulcher that was hewn in stone, wherein never a man before was laid, because they're the first fruits. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. The preparation is for, I can't remember if this was the day of preparation as well. Let's read through this. I didn't want to, but I think it'll give some clarity on this if we do. He wrapped it and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out of the rock. And we all know what that means. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre, that's to close the probation, and departed. The work is going to be left to them at this point, after the close of probation. But there was something And there was Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sitting over against the sepulchre. Now the next day that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate. So they're doing their work the day after the day of preparation. So the day of preparation is shared. Okay, so the 144, hold on. The dead have been raised, and then it says the next day that followed, the day after the day of preparation. And then they'll probably just go out to work. So here, and that day was the day of preparation. That's Friday. And the Sabbath drew on. It drew on for the 11th hour church. So we shared that last day. This is the last part. And it's only 2 verses long. Great. And the women also which came with him from Galilee followed after, and beheld the sepulchre, and how his body was laid, in the other churches. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day, according to the commandments. Other churches are now following the commandments of God. And there was Mary Magdalene. Well, maybe not publicly, but the word has certainly gone out. And there were, we already read that. Now that the next day that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that deceiver said, while he was yet alive, after 3 days, I will rise again. We don't need this. I'll show it to you guys if you want to read it. So that's the rest of the chapter. But it doesn't really pertain to our study, so we're good there. All right. Didn't really discern a whole lot, but we did the study, so I'm gonna post it. I don't know what you guys will see. I do see that we share the church, but I do see the tribulation that we go through and the eventual taking up of the 144,000. I guess what I garnered the most is that the church is going to appeal to the government in order to prosecute us, so that, of course, the law has to be put into effect pertaining to worship. And then, of course, it's going to build and then snowball into the 11th hour church. But I don't know. I guess I'll have to think about it some more. I will just leave it at that until next time. I will see you in the next video. Bye.